Good afternoon, guys. Thank you for logging in to Empowering Pastors Leadership. This is our monthly gathering, so you'll notice we have a little bit different setting and background, and we're really excited about this month's speaker, Pastor Claude Oliver out of Binghamton. And just before I introduce him to you, I want to let you know, and I want to thank you for logging on. The investment into yourself is one of the wisest things you can do. So I think our organization is only as good as our leaders are. And as we're growing, I believe that the body of Christ is going to grow, our businesses are going to grow, our networks are going to grow. That's what we're excited about, is not growing us and his tabernacle, but growing the kingdom of heaven as we all put our hands to the plow. And I know that's Pastor's heart. That's Dr. Spencer's heart. If you need anything, he's there for you. He'd love to answer your questions. You can email him at pastorspencer@gmail.com. I know that's not the one I'm supposed to give out, but here it is online. So you can write that down, take it to the bank. But we're really excited about hosting you today, and we'd love to invite you out next month. It'll be the first Tuesday unless there's a holiday. Next month, we'll be serving lunch for free as well and having a speaker. So without much further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Pastor Claude Oliver from Greater Faith Ministries in Binghamton, New York. Go ahead and put your hands together as he comes up.
Good morning to those who are online as well as those who are in the auditorium. Let me just start by giving you a couple of disclaimers. Number one, how many of you know John C. Maxwell, either online or in the auditorium? Do you know John C.? Well, let me just tell you right now, I am no John C. Maxwell. I am not John C. Maxwell, but we are going to be talking about a subject that he is expert at. So I venture to say that you can go and run some references, and I'm just sharing this morning. I'm not the expert. I'm sharing information. Is that all right? I'm just sharing information. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
For those online, talk to me online. Okay. For those who are in the auditorium, is that okay? We're going to just share some information. So today we're going to take a look at leadership. I'm going to ask you to do two things. Another disclaimer, not only am I not John C. Maxwell, but today, if I make a mistake or if there's something that you disagree with, just agree with me anyway, okay? Just agree for my sake. Just agree with me anyway. I'm no John C. Maxwell, but we want to take a look at leadership. I'm going to ask you today if you would follow along with me in the handouts as opposed to jumping ahead of me. Is that all right? There's a purpose in that. Oftentimes, we don't do handouts until at the end so that you are forced to kind of pay attention at the beginning. Is that great? Is that great?
That's great.
It's kind of like church anyway, right? Kind of like church. So we're taking a look at leadership. We're going to go through a couple of things today. We're going to take a look at teams because it's often been said that if I am leading myself and there's no one following me, that I'm just a man out for a walk. I'm out for a walk, and I don't want to take a walk this morning. I certainly want to hope I instill something in you around leadership. Therefore, we must talk about teams. If you're going to start a discussion around leadership, you must talk about team. So we're going to talk about team this morning. We're going to talk about some keys to your success. I actually brought a little example of keys this morning to really get you a real feel for what we're talking about when we talk about keys for success. There are some things, each one of these keys have a particular purpose. And there are some things that you can do in your leadership style as you develop yourselves as leaders, whether you be pastor or lay leaders or youth leaders or just leaders in general. There are some things that you can do to ensure your success. I want to talk about an ISAP. You can't do a presentation without at least one acronym. You can't do a presentation without at least one acronym, an ISAP. And for those of you who don't know what that is, before we end today, hopefully you will know what an ISAP is all about. There are 4 leadership styles, and you'll find out as you study those 4 styles that you can really add those things together, because in each of those styles, you may have a piece of this and a part of that and a portion of another. If you add all those things together, there are actually 16 or 18 different leadership styles. And there's a difference between being a leader and being a servant leader. And today, we hope that as we start to land the plane, we'll give you a couple of points on being a servant leader. I was so impressed with that term, servant leader, that we actually had it printed on our cards. We hope that if nothing else, if we're not there yet, that we'll continue to work on our own leadership styles and our own leadership selves, that we will become what? Servant leaders. Thank you so much. And we want to end this thing or land the plane on the note that says to us that there's a difference between having a job and being in ministry. And before you leave today, we hope that we all understand. If you've been a pastor, if you're a pastor, would you raise your hand in our internet audience? If you're a pastor, any pastors, if you are a pastor, understand something. We know because we are pastor that we ought to be leaders, right? We ought to be. We should be. We should be good leaders. We should be servant leaders. But oftentimes we've done it for so long. We've gotten accustomed to it. We've gotten relaxed with it. And we forget that it's not the job. It is actually ministry. All right? Everyone ready to dive in? Mm-hmm. So I'm ready to dive in. You're going to force you to talk to me whether you like me or not. I'm ready to dive in. Looking at team and leading teams. Before you look at the page, before you look at 1 through 10, just shout out one thing that as a person that's leading a team, you might want to be aware of. One thing. Real shout it out. Communication. Anyone else? Anyone else? Well, we've got one leader in the room, thank God. In order to be a leader, and this is what I want you to do. Everyone that has a pen in the audience, as well as on the internet, if you've got a pen, if you don't have a pen, grab a pen really, really quickly. I just need you to put a plus or a minus. We can all do that, right? It's real simple. Next to the things that we're going to go through next. All you got to do, and I'm not a great board writer, plus or minus. If I'm doing it, I think I'm starting to master it. Let's just use this as a guideline. I'm about 80% in getting it right. Let's use 80. Is 80% a good number? Let's use 80%. That's a B minus. Let's give ourselves a B minus. Let's give ourselves 80% if I'm doing it right. So beside each of the things that we're going to go through, a plus if I'm doing it, if I'm at 80% doing it right, or a minus if that's an area, not that I'm not doing, but an area where I need to improve myself as a leader. Because I said earlier that if you're going to be a leader, you must be leading a team. Because if you are a leader and you're not leading a team, you're what? A man just taking a walk. Right. So being a leader, I heard one attribute of being a leader and leading teams was communicating. Let's go through the 10. Leading a team brings both challenge. Would you agree with that? Leading a team brings both challenge and it brings about reward. So what are some key things that we must do in order to be a successful leader of any team? I would submit to you, above communication, number one, you must be a great listener. You must be a great listener. I'm going to put a minus beside that one on my own page. Please rate yourself. This is a self-examination around your own leadership styles and ability, and your ability to lead a team. You must be a great listener, and you must use your ears and your mouth in the correct proportions. I would say that I'm a great listener, but I think my proportions are off. Am I the only one?
Yes.
I think my proportions are off. So you've got to be a great listener, and you've got to have it in the right proportions. Because sometimes, and I'm a person that sometimes often talks more than I listen. Mm-hmm. And I would submit to you that in being a good leader, as we go through this look at leadership, that's oftentimes the biggest problem that we have. It's not that we don't listen. It's just that our proportions are off. Number two, would anyone agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Number two, take discussions, or it should be make decisions, and don't procrastinate. Anybody know what procrastination is? It's just I'm going to get to that tomorrow. I'm going to get to that later this evening. I'm going to get to that next email, that next decision I need to make. I'm going to put it off. And we've all done it. But make decisions and don't procrastinate. Remember, decisions lead to what? Decisions lead to action. You got to talk back to me. And actions lead to we can have all the action that we want or all the decisions we want, but if we're not making progress in our actions, if those actions are not leading to results, then we are doing something wrong in our leadership of any team. Right? Yeah. We're doing something wrong in our leadership of any team. We've got to be clear. We've got to be clear, and that's the optimal word. We've got to be clear about what you're trying to achieve. Oftentimes, when we start leading teams, it could be the bake sale. Anybody did a bake sale lately? It could be the bottle drive. It could be the building fund. It could be something real. It could be the next conference that you're planning. But we've got to be clear in the objectives that we're looking to achieve, because oftentimes we're having a great conference, and we've done it before, but we've lost sight on what? While we're doing it. It's a great conference. It's a great thing. It's a great occasion. It's a great event. But we've lost sight on what or why we're doing it. Therefore, we're spending an awful lot of money. We perhaps might be getting some results, but we could be getting what kind of results? Greater results if we would keep in mind just why we're doing this. And as we look around, is the team growing or shrinking? What's happening? So when we look at leadership, one of the things that we must keep focused on if we're going to be great or greater leaders, all of us are good leaders. Some of us are great leaders. But all of us should desire to be greater leaders. Are you with me?
Yep. Yeah.
So we've got to be clear on what it is that we're trying to achieve in terms of leading this team. I'm guilty. I'm hoping you're rating yourself, pluses and minuses. You're with me? How many have got at least 2 pluses? How many have got at least 3 minuses? Remember, 80%, how can I get better? And you got to be hard on you, because if you're not hard on you in your leadership, you'll probably get lazy in your leadership. Because all of us should be striving to get better. I said that I'm no John C. Maxwell, but I have the honor in a couple of months, in the month of September, to be sitting in an audience where John C. Maxwell will be the main presenter. So I tell you, all of us can go to a John C. Maxwell session and learn a little bit more than we already knew about leadership. If we're going to be great leaders and lead a great team, we've got to be the model. We've got to be the model. We've got to be the role model for the great team behavior. You notice I didn't say the great team's strength. You notice I didn't say the great team's plan. You notice I didn't say the great team's momentum. But how you behave is so important. How many of us have ever slammed the paper down on the desk, or we pitched the fit and we walked out because the team is not getting it done? We've all been there, or felt like being there, or experienced that. But we've got to say, hey, come on, team. Come on, team, we can do this. This is within our grasp. This is within our reach. This is not too hard for us. When you tell the team that we've got to raise $100,000 in 3 months, you get as quiet as this room. Because the team's like, where's your 100? Right? Yeah. Where's your 500? We've got to be the first ones to step up and say, we can do this. And I'm going to sacrifice to ensure that it gets what? Done. That it gets done. That it gets done. You got to be the model for that. Number 6, don't forget pluses and minuses. Number 6, be authentic. People can tell a fake. Yeah. People can really pick out. Ladies, I'm not picking on you. I just want to use this as an example. Is that okay? How many of you know the difference in a real Gucci and a fake Gucci? I'm talking the bag, right? Gentlemen, how many of you know the difference in a real Armani suit and a almost Armani suit? You know the difference. It feels different. It wears different. It looks pretty good, but it's a fake. So we've got to be authentic, and don't put on an act as it relates to the team what the objectives are, what your expectations are. Okay, in order to get to where you got to go. All right. And on days when I tell you, there are days when I want to pout, I want to scream, I want to throw down the gauntlet, I want to give up. But I'm the leader. Think about yourself in those capacities, right? Read number 7 for me together. Let me make sure you're still out there. Here we go. Step into others' shoes and look at things from their perspective. Come on, plus or minus. Oftentimes, we put on our shoes and we think, well, because we put ours on, everybody else ought to put theirs on. There are some times when, unless you step in their shoes, the other person's shoes, the people you're trying to lead shoes, to try to get to understand them, their likes, their dislikes, what makes them tick, what makes them jump a little bit higher, last a little bit longer. How many of you have ever gotten tired? People have ever, just come on, be honest, be honest. So only 2 people out of 15, okay, or 4, 5, okay, 6. All right, 6 people have gotten tired before. Every now and then, we get a little weary. But what does the scripture say? Be not weary in doing well. So the things that you're doing, the people that you're leading, it's all well. We've got to tell ourselves, even when it gets tough, we are doing well. How are you doing today? I am doing great. Didn't say I didn't have an issue. Didn't say that some things were not happening, but I'm doing great. I've got to press through this. Listen, we've got to step into other shoes to try to get a feel and an understanding of what they're looking at, how they're seeing things. We've got to take number 8. We've got to take the responsibility when things don't go as we've got 3 people. When things don't go as planned. When things don't go as planned, we've got to take the responsibility because we are the leader. And anytime we're the leader, we've got to understand that it rests here. But we're going to find out later some things we can do so that so much of it does not rest here. We'll find out in just a moment. Number 9, encourage everyone to air their views and make their contributions. Listen, I don't like everything everybody tells me about how ministry ought to go. I just don't like it. And if you're a pastor in the room or a worship leader or any leader, you're the leader of the team, oftentimes you won't like how others will want to direct you. But does liking it preclude you from listening to it? No way, no how. So oftentimes, we've got to hear the views of others, and then we've got to say, you know what? Got you. Heard you. Understand you. You're going left. We're going right. You have to make those, as leaders, sometimes you have to make that call. To say, I heard you. I understood you clearly, but we're going right. I know left is a beautiful scenic route. I've been left before. Today we are going right. Okay. So we have to take responsibility when things don't go as planned, but we have to encourage and listen to others too. Because I started with number 1 by saying you must be a great listener. You must be a great listener. In other words, you take into consideration the thoughts, the feelings, the expressions of others. And we've got to facilitate overcoming the obstacles that get in the way of our success. Believe me, if you worked on any team, they're going to, every time you think you've got number 1 hurdle, you're going to encounter another hurdle. But if you're going to be a great leader, you got to do what? Hang in there and find a way over the hurdle. Are you with me? I probably have not said a thing that you have heard a time and time again. But what I'm hoping I'm doing this morning or this afternoon is reminding us that we're all good leaders. Some of us are great leaders. But what we want to be is greater leaders. Right? So there's a bottom line here. There's a takeaway. There's a takeaway. Team leadership can make a huge difference in the results that get delivered. Team leadership. And for every great team, there should be a super duper, super outstanding, highly motivated, come on somebody, sensational team lead. Understand something. I've seen teams be successful without that super duper outstanding team lead. I would challenge you in those times, then, as you play a role on that team, to be more of a supporter, to be that number 1 cheerleader. And when you don't get the credit, that you put that credit on that person called the team leader, so that he in himself builds up his own confidence or her own confidence, knowing that they're good, perhaps they're great, so that they might become greater. Team leadership can make a huge difference in the results that get delivered. And what you need to do more of to get, what do you need to do more of to get better results? That's the question. What do you need to do more of to get better results? Right? Perhaps it is cheering that team lead on a little bit more. Say, come on, we got this. I got you. How many of you have ever been on a team when one of your teammates have told you, I got you? That's a great feeling to a team leader. That's like kryptonite, right? That's great fuel for a team leader, because sometimes he's thinking, where's this thing going? This ship is breaking up. Folks are leaving. Things are not going like I thought it was going to go. But to a team leader who could use a little bit more polishing and buffing, a couple more John Maxwell tape CDs and seminars, right? They need to hear that. So you have a role to play. How many of you got at least seven pluses on your page? Please, I hope you stay with me. 7, 6, 5, 4. So what that says to us is that we all have some room to grow in our own leadership, because leadership starts with teamwork. And there's no I in team. Leadership starts with what? Teamwork. And there's no, you've heard it before, so I'm not saying anything that you haven't already heard. I'm hoping that I'm encouraging you to say you're good. Some of you are great, but let's become greater. In other words, there are some keys. Each one of these keys on my particular keychain have a specific and unique purpose. And I can tell you, my car's in the shop, So my car key is not here, but I've got my wife's car key on here, and I've got this car key that belongs to the car that we traded in over a year ago. So anyway, I venture to tell you that the car that we traded in a year ago would not start my wife's car if I tried. I don't care how hard I try. I don't care how long I try it. It will not start the car that we just drove up in today. But if I switch that key out for, I love this thing, that jackknife key. If I switch that key out for this guy, I guarantee you, first try, one try, I'd be on my way. What am I trying to say to you? There are some things that each of us can do in order to be successful in leading our teams. I'm going to just give you a couple of keys to successful team leadership, or keys to success as it relates to leading a team. Our thoughts and our feelings determine our thoughts and our feelings determine our behavior. Let me tell you, if you don't feel good, guess how you're going to behave?
Badly.
You're going to be a little bit crabby, right? You're going to be drooping. You're going to be slow. You're going to be non-responsive. You're going to get a little bit on edge, right? But if you think and you feel better, guess how you're going to behave? A whole lot better. What if everyone you ran into felt great every day, all day? What if everyone you ran into had a great positive attitude every day, all day? Have you run into some people that attitudes could have gotten a little bit better, or their thoughts could have been a little bit better? With those two combinations, with your thoughts and your feelings, you will have great behavior. And remember what I said earlier about that behavior. Really? What did I say? Anybody remember what I said about behavior? In terms of leading a team?
Behavior equals attitude.
Okay, all right. So your thoughts and behaviors determine that great attitude. In everything you do, find out how good you can be. Listen to what I'm saying. How many of you just love yard work? Well, let me just tell you, I hate yard work. The other day, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, because we've had a lot of rain. About 3 weeks ago, I got out on the sidewalk and I pulled all the grass between the grooves in the cement. You couldn't tell me I had not painted the Mona Lisa. You could not tell me I had not done something good, because I hate yard work. If you see my lawn, you'll see the evidence of that. Hate it. All I did was pull the weeds or the grass from between the pavement grooves. Honey, come out, take a look. Come on out here, girl. Take a look. I was so, you would have thought I painted the Mona Lisa. Simple task. What am I trying to say? I was not going to stop once I got started. But first of all, we got to get started. In order to be successful, you got to get started. Once I got started, I didn't want to stop. And I didn't want to see any grass remaining, because I wanted it to look great. In other words, to be successful, you got to, in everything you do, you got to find out just how good you can be. When it's something that you don't like, when it's something that you do like, when it's something that's easy, when it's something that's difficult, you got to find out how good can I be at this? Since I'm going to do it, how good can I be? Is that good or what?
Yes.
All right. How good can I be? Knowledge. Somebody say knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. If you don't know, read a book. If you don't know, download a CD or DVD. Do something to find out what it is that you, how many of you have never worked in your churches or your organization's youth group or youth department? Never done that. That's for someone else to do. All right? Okay? I would submit to you that you might think it's easy to get 50 kids to stand on the stage and stand up and sing the song or do the script or whatever it is you have them to do. That's a massive undertaking. So if you've never done it, you need to find out how good you can be. You need to not only get knowledge around working with children, but you need to then go and work with children, right? Experimental learning is the best fashion of learning. So knowledge is the key to accessing success. I don't know how to do this. Ask someone. Read a book. Watch a CD. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but oftentimes when we're the leader, we've used the D word called delegate, so I don't have to know that. Wrong answer. I don't have to engage in that because I've already gotten someone that takes care of that. What if they're sick? Well, I've got a backup. What if they're sick? Well, I've got a backup to the backup. What if they're sick? When you're the leader, right, and this thing has to go, right, it's got to go. So I would submit to you as leader that one thing that you have to start doing, if you don't do it already, if there are 10 jobs on the team and you already know 7 of them, there's a little bit more knowledge that you can obtain about at least 3 more jobs. I'm not saying you've got to do all 3 of those jobs, or all 10 of those jobs, but you ought to be able, willing, and able to do those jobs. Is that good or what?
Good.
Feedback. We talked about feedback a moment ago. We talked about listening, but feedback, being receptive and teachable. And I can just tell you sometimes, that's a tough one. Yeah, I'm the teacher. Got this. I know how to do it. I know what I want done. But we've got to be teachable. We've got to be teachable. And we've got to be receptive in terms of being teachable. Because have you ever seen a student that's teachable? Telling me, yeah. Those 10 things I could have wrote those things in my sleep. I could have been eating lunch now instead of an hour from now. Because you haven't told me anything I don't know. But being teachable says I'm going to be receptive, and maybe if I hear it again, I might hear it in a whole new way that might open up a whole new understanding. How many of you read that scripture, or read a scripture and read it the next day and got a whole different revelation? Right? So even as we study to grow spiritually, we must keep ourselves receptive and teachable. Oh, we'll say this when we read John 3:16. How many of you read John 3:16 at least once? Right? Yeah, I've read that one before, got that one. Right? But every time you read that one, you should get some more clarity around what just that one is talking about. That very familiar one. We've got to learn to attribute success to ability. Because sometimes we're not successful because we're not stretching ourselves. How many of you know what a comfort zone is? Sometimes we like to stay. How many of us like to stay in our comfort zone? Let's be real with ourselves. Some of us like to stay in our comfort zone. But in order to be successful, I would submit to you that we got to bone up on our ability. So those things that we don't like doing, those things that you know what? About 3 months ago, I started going to the gym. Does it look like?
No.
Well, if I took off this shirt, you would really see the difference.
No.
About 3 months ago, I started going to the gym, and I hated it. Matter of fact, I was afraid. I don't think I've been in a gym, Cody, for about 20 years. And I know I only look 21. But I had not been in a gym in a long time. But I started going to the gym, and I didn't know how to use the equipment. I didn't know what the equipment was for. But sticking around for a while and getting more able and getting more confident, I was able to start mastering, not so much from I got this, I know all about it, but enough at least not let the weight slam on have you ever been to a gym, the guy who doesn't know how to do the weights, they're clinking all the time? After about 3 weeks of that, the lady came over and told me, sir, if you would just ease the weights down, or if you would put the peg up 1 or 2 more pegs. It is what it is, right? I didn't know. I thought they both clean. I mean, I'm working it out. Right? Learn to attribute success to ability and failure to lack of effort. Am I really putting the effort? Did I go? I heard you say now, did I go and learn some more about that? Did I was I teachable when the lady, not a guy, a lady in the gym said, sir, I see you. I've seen you several weeks now, and you're doing good. Look at you. But if you put that peg up and work up to putting it down 3 more pegs, you'll really have this, and you'll be doing it right, or at least better. How many of you know, I don't care if you're good or great, on your way to greater, that you all have the ability, and you're all capable of excellence. We are capable of excellence. And everything that we do as we lead others should be done in excellence. Everything that we do should be done in excellence. So you have to ask yourself, what is excellent to me? Is excellent getting there after everyone else has gotten there? Is excellent to me with sitting down and watching all the minions run around the floor to see if they get it right, and then telling them, well, you know what, you really didn't get that right? Or is excellent saying, you know what, I'm a part of the team. So whether it's sweeping the floor or taking out the trash, I got this. We're on the same team. I can do this. I would submit to you that what we just ran through were some keys to your success. And you may say, I already know that stuff. But I would submit to you that if you go back and rehash a little of that stuff, you will become more successful. I said, an ISAP. What in the heck, without looking at your paper, what in the heck might an ISAP be? You've had an ISAP for a long time. You just didn't call it that. How many of you, many years ago, probably said, this is what I'm strong in, this is what I'm weak in, this is what I need to improve? Anybody do that? Have you ever done that? Time and time again? Yep. How many of you now, I saw a show of hands, how many of you have said, this is what I do good, so you don't focus there, right? This is where what I don't do so good, and every now and then you say, I ain't that bad. I'm not that, right? But this area called, this is where I can improve, I don't even look at that stuff. Well, let me just tell you, the strength of your ISAP, the strength of your individual strategic action plan is taking a look at that third piece. Because if you're going to improve and enhance your leadership ability, then you got to look at the areas where you can improve yourself, right? Didn't say you were bad, didn't say that you were the worst, but it did say that there's some areas that you can improve. I know what I'm strong at. I know what I'm weak at. Here's some area. Here's some fertile ground for me to grow. Anybody want to grow? The best of us can grow. The best of us can grow. So an individual strategic action plan. And the greatest thing about a plan is putting it into action. A plan without action is not a plan. It's just some words written on a page. You've got to put it into action. In other words, you already know what your strengths are. You already know what your weaknesses are. But if you haven't taken time to write down, literally, in this year, we're already, 7 months in. Here's how I'm going to improve. 2 things. Not 10, 2. Here's how I'm going to improve on 2 things this year. Right? Whether that be for your church, for your organization, for your team, for your group, doesn't matter. Here are 2 things I'm going to do to improve. I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and E. I do understand that it's easier said than done. I do understand. I have people even tell me at church, I'm so into the sermon, I'm not taking any notes. I say, well, by week 3, you're going to have forgotten everything I said today. We do it all the time. We say, I'm going to get this. I already know I'm going to improve in this area. I already know I need to improve in this area, but we didn't take the moment to write it down so that we can go back a month from now and say, how am I doing? An individual strategic action plan, you got to look at a couple of things. What are your greatest strengths and your style attributes? Are you leveraging the talents? Are you leveraging your talents and interests? In other words, if, for example, give me anyone, what are you going to improve on this year? One thing. Anybody? One thing. Make it up. I'm going to improve in my organization. McKinsey, right? McKinsey says, I'm going to improve in my organization. McKinsey writes on the top of the page, I'm going to improve in my organization. And I know because McKinsey, she shares with me her friend. We're friends, right? Okay. She shares with me her friend, I'm going to improve in my organization. Now, I see McKinsey, she's over the praise and worship fine arts, and she comes to praise, and she studied this song all week. It's in her head. But she hasn't made any notes about how she's going to tell the altos, the sopranos, or the tenors. This is kind of how we want to make this feel, how we want to make this go. She hasn't taken that one note to bring to the session, to the next praise rehearsal. This is the song we're going to sing. And oh, by the way, here are all the words already printed out. I'm just going to sing them today. I'm just going to pick them up. The easy way out, right? But when we create an individual strategic action plan, we do real stuff that leads to better results. Are you with me? We do real stuff. Why did I have to print out the words of the song? Everybody ought to know this song by now. Jesus loves a little children. Everybody already knows that, right? You'll be surprised. Someone's been singing it wrong all these years. Right? So when I give them the words on the page, it helps me to be more what? Organized, because that was my personal action. This is just a small example. It can be anything that you're trying to do. And what I'm learning is that it takes a lot of time, but it's worth it, because the person I'm trying to enhance their leadership skill is who? Me, myself, and I. And I believe that if I become a better leader, those on my team and those around me will become what? Better leaders. So are you leveraging your talents and your interests, those things that you know you're good at? Are you doing things, tangible things, writing things down to make yourself better? What's your energy level? Man, I'm getting ready to go off to this group or this praise team rehearsal, this thing that I've got to do, or this section. I sent out a note last night, and I'm hoping someone will show up today. Sent out a note that we're going to do some cleaning around the church this afternoon, right? And so I can go down there looking like this. Am I ready to pull weeds or what? Come on now. Red looks good for weeds, I think. Or can I slip on some old shoes and an old t-shirt and some jeans perhaps? I'm ready to pull weeds. Let's get it done. All right? So what's your energy level? When you're doing something, how are you attracting others that, hey, this is going to be good? What's good about pulling weeds? They're weeds. Weeds be gone. I mean, you got to get yourself motivated and ready if you're going to put some real action behind making yourself better as a leader. So your energy level will impact the team, right? How many of you fast and pray and you tell about, I'm fasting and praying today? Wash your face. Do it anyhow and press into it, right? What's your brand? I've oftentimes said every one of us carry an MO. What's your MO? When people, before you are laid out here, God forbid it be soon, before you're laid out here, what are people saying about you? What's your brand? I was at a conference just the other day in Louisville, Kentucky, and at the end of the conference, one of the bishops at the conference said to me, man, I finally see you without a tie and a suit on. How many of you know I had to resist wearing a tie and a suit today? Those of you who know me well know I resisted. Cody's probably saying, Claude has an open collared shirt on. What's going on here? He's slipping. Right? So what is your brand? Right? Now, I use it myself because I'm more comfortable that way. I could sleep in a tie. I'm seriously. But some of us are stuck in our brand, and we're not allowing ourselves to be flexible in our brand. You must have a brand, but in order for you to be successful, you know what? When I go pull weeds today, I can't wear this uniform. I can't wear this uniform. So although uniform, tie, shirt might be my brand, every now and then, if I'm going to be successful and grow myself as a leader, grow into my action plan, I've got to understand that there's some different strokes for different folks, and there's some different uniforms for different activities. I could play basketball just like this. I'm good. Right? I don't know how good I'd be at basketball anyway, but I could, right? What needs to be strengthened? All of us have areas that can be strengthened. All of us have areas that can be what? Strengthened. Self-leadership. We're talking about self-leadership. We're not talking about your neighbor, not touching your neighbor, not looking to your neighbor, not patting your neighbor. We're talking about you, right, as individuals. So self-leadership is all about accountability. What's number two? Responsibility. But look at this, capability. Self-leadership is all about accountability, responsibility, and capability. However, the takeaway is this: the first two are easily achieved when they are fully leveraged by the third. Accountability and responsibility are easily achieved, or easier to achieve, when they are accompanied by looking at the third, capability. You don't think you can, but guess what? Every now and then you have to tell yourself, you what? You can. Because scripturally, this is what it says, right? How many things can you do? How many things can you do? All right? And all really does mean what? Right. You can do it all. You can do it all. Don't tell yourself you can't do this, that, or the other. You can do it. You might have to work at it. You might have to strengthen. You know what? I'm on peg. I don't know. I put those things at 5 pounds, 5 pounds each. Those little weights on this one particular machine I use at the gym. I think I'm down to like 4 pegs or 5. But I started at 3. Listen. So it's really all about working on you. It's about, I texted my trainer this morning and I told him, you know, I kind of miss going to the gym. I hate it, but I kind of miss it. Matter of fact, I talk about it more than I go. Right? What does that have to do with leadership? You're going to hate and not want to do some things that you already think you know how to do well because you've gotten comfortable with your level of capability. But if you want to increase or enhance your capability, you've got to be more accountable to the things that you think you already know. Is that good or what? What we want to do is move from being just leader to being a different type of leader. And I'm going to use the word servant leader. Servant leader. I'm going to use the word servant leader. The servant leader is what? Servant first. The servant leader is what? Servant first. The second bullet here really tells it all. The leader first and the servant first are extreme types. The leader first versus servant first. Extreme types. They're polar opposites. Some of us are leader first. I'm the leader. Right? I see that from the org chart. Right? I see clearly you are the leader from the org chart. But how many times does servant leader have to do this? What's that called? Rolling up those sleeves and getting in there with you to show that not only am I leader, I'm servant. I'm servant. Many of us get comfortable with our org chart position. And because we're comfortable with our org chart position, we never put on the shoes of others. We never put on the mindset of others. We never put on the attitude of others. What are they going through? What's my team dealing with right now? All right. So a servant leader is servant what? First. And first, leader first versus servant first are on the extreme ends. The difference manifests itself in the care taken by the servant first to make sure that other people's highest priority needs are being served. Great example of this. Great example. How many of you have ever gone to a restaurant? 3 people, 5, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Can I get 10? 10 people, restaurant, not 50. Okay. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and with the expectation that the waiter or the servant should serve you? Anybody set that expectation when they go to a restaurant? How wild would it be if the next time you went to Applebee's, anybody Applebee's? How wild would it be if the server came to your table with your tray that you ordered special, and you got up from your seat and you said, you know what? Let me just help. Would that be wild or what? Would that blow their mind? I think it would just blow their mind. Do you have to do that? Absolutely not, because you're going to pay at Applebee's. Anyone that goes, unless you've got one of those gift cards, you're going to pay. So you go with the set expectation that you ought to be served, and you ought to be served well. Every now and then, in some weird place, I use one of the weirdest restaurants where you got to pay for your own food. In a weird place, you ought to think, how can I insert myself as servant leader? Right here at this moment. How many of you have ever been in a place where there's a janitor or a custodian? And perhaps you see some litter on the paper, some litter on the floor. You ought to try inserting yourself right there for just a moment to be servant leader. The other day, it's not a funny story. The other day it's a true story. The other day I was at church and we had one of those water coolers. And for the life of me, I don't know, we haven't had it that long, but for the life of me, I don't know why in the little water receptacle, you know how you pull the little spigot, if any water drops, it drops in the little receptacle down there. It was green. And I'm like, oh my God, gross. Gross me out. Now I can say, hey, pastor here, somebody needs to clean that up. Looks a mess. Don't like it. Now, I was late for Bible study, but I was late. I promise you, I was late. But something in me said, you need to stop right now and clean up this green fungi or fungus or whatever it is. I don't know. Whatever's growing in the water container or growing out of the water. Well, why was it so important right then and there? Not so I could look at me, I cleaned the water cooler. But because there was a job that needed to be done. Because someone's going to come along behind me and want to drink water from the water cooler. That's a useful thing. And sometimes because we're failing to do servant leadership, useful things are going unused. Because we fail to honor servant leadership, we are failing in order to make the whole part more viable. So what we've got to do sometimes is get down off the high horse, called leadership, or being the lead, and get right down into the trenches. Another good place. Anybody do street ministry at all? Pass out. I ain't passing out. I'm not giving out no tracts. It's hot. Every now and then, you too need to grab your bottle of water and show up when the outreach person says we're going out at 10 o'clock. Not I'm going to meet you downtown. I'm going to meet you at the church with everybody else. We're going to all go together because I'm a part of this team and because I'm a servant leader. I want to show you guys that I too can get up at 10 o'clock and I can go out and serve. A servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of the people and the communities in which they belong. So understand servant leadership is really getting in there and being a part. A servant leader shares power. And this is what oftentimes when it comes to leadership, we don't want to give up any of the power. Servant leaders, they share power and they put the needs of others first and help people to develop and perform. Not only to develop, but to do what? Perform. Not only to develop, but to also do what? Perform. Perform as highly as they possibly can. So when you see people and you see something happening, and this is where in my servant leadership, sometimes I have to almost sit on my hands because oftentimes in servant leadership, you almost want to get up right then and just help them out. I'm trying to now wait at least until after the service, right? Right? Call the group together, the leaders together, say, hey, here's what I observed today. We can do that better. And let me just give you some tips. How are you thinking? Right? The other day, I had our church after service, our leaders gather and rate all of the services. Give their own opinion, 1 to 10. How do you think? Just a light survey. How do you think worship went today? 1 to 10, right? But the only caveat was not you looking at everybody else. Wow, it's a different evaluation now, isn't it? If I'm rating how did worship go today, and I wasn't the worship leader, I wasn't the praise leader, I didn't read a scripture, all I did was sit in the comfortable purple chair, I will rate it one way. But if I sit now, you're the person in the comfortable chair, but you're also the person that's doing the rating, and you're doing the rating on yourself in conjunction with how was service today. How many times did you lift your hands? How many times did you say amen? See, there's a different perspective when we take on servant leadership to say, if I'm going to be a part of the service, I need to do what? Be a part of the service. Right? That's servant leadership? Yes. 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 That's servant leadership. I'm not going to read the 4 leadership styles to you, but I would that you would take a read of those styles very, very quickly as I call them out. Just begin to read on the next 2 pages there, front and back. They talk about the 4 leadership styles in terms of the strong leadership style, a director. A very strong style. Directors are task-oriented leaders. As such, they bring this strength to ministries that need more task orientation. You know, there's some folks that we come and we have good church. And you ask them, how was church today? It was good church. What you learned today? It was good church. How was service today? We had a good time. All right? But you haven't learned anything. How the director directs. Strong task orientation. And there are some of us, whether it be in church or in our organizations or in our groups, that need a little bit more organization, some more task orientation, right? We got 1 through 10. We got to get them all done. We start with number 1. Let's get it done. Let's chomp through it, all right? They've got some strengths. The directors excel at task-oriented aspects of leadership. You give me 10 tasks, right? I got to get 10 tasks done. I need 1 for this, 2 for that, 3 for the other. We're going to get it done. I come back. Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Check, check, check. Got it. Right? But there are some weaknesses as well. While directors are strong, they're strong people. They got it done. Task-oriented leaders, they often struggle with relationship. They often raise their voice and they just say, get it done. Don't matter how, just do what?
Get it done.
Just get it done. I don't care if your child is sick. Do what? Get it done. I don't care if you got a class to attend. Do what? Get it done. Whereas a relational manager or an inspirational leader, a personal leadership style, might be one that inspires people. And have you ever had that team leader that's just so inspiring that none of you get anything done? They are always, oh, we had a good time. We laughed. Oh, we had a great time. But we did not what? We did not get it done. Right? And so you're going to their home, they're coming to your home, and everybody's just laughing, and everybody's having a great time, but ain't nothing growing, and ain't nothing getting done. So it's great to be inspirational. It's great to be encouraging. But in being encouraging and being inspirational, you still must do what? Get it done. All right? There's a diplomat. There's a diplomat. And I've already seen myself in at least 2 of these roles already. Whether it be the director or be the inspirational person, and I've really got to work on that one a lot for me, but a little bit. But there's the diplomat. Well, what do you say? What did you say? Well, this is what I see. Right? The diplomat. That diplomats, those people are somewhat people-oriented leaders who sometimes they inspire. They bring more relational orientation to the ministry context. They lead best in a situation that calls for a person to take a caring, supportive, friendly, patient kind of persona. You've got the director, you've got the inspirational leader, a personal person, the supportive leader, i.e. the diplomat, and then you got the analytical type, right? What does the data say? Let's allow the data to lead us. The data said that there were 200 people in church this Sunday. We want to have 250 people in church next Sunday. We need to make 50 more bulletins. I'm just making that up, right? But we allow the data to lead us, whatever the situation is. Now, I tell you, although we've only listed 4 styles here, these leadership styles, if you combine them, you could form at least 16 different styles. Because in most of us in this room, there's a little bit of diplomat, a little bit of director, a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of supportiveness in all of us. So we've got to figure out if we're going to be, most of us are good, some of us are great. If we're going to be greater, we've got to figure out what combination of these strengths and weaknesses really tags us best. All right? That we really operate in the best. All right? So that we understand, guess what? If you don't know your leadership style, I could pin anything on you. Right? If I don't know my leadership style, you could pin anything on me. We all ought to know our strengths, our weaknesses, our leadership styles. We've got to do that strategic action plan so that if there is a weakness, and with every one of these styles, not only were there strengths, there were also what? Weaknesses. There was not always good. There's some areas to improve. We don't say bad. There's some areas to improve. And we can't be ashamed of those areas in which we must improve. Listen, we're starting to land the plane. I don't know how much time I've got left. 5 minutes? Great, I'm right on time. We're starting to land the plane. And any of us that have led teams before or led in ministry before, we know that sometimes it feels like a job. Amen. Sometimes it feels like a what? A job. If you've led worship before, sometimes it feels like it's a what? It's a job. But we've got to understand that in ministry, it's not a job. It's not a job. In ministry, it's just what it's called. It's ministry. It is ministry. Some people have a job in church. Some people have a job in church. Others invite themselves into ministry. And what I would challenge you to do today is invite yourself into ministry. Listen, if you are doing it just because no one else will, guess what? It's a job. Well, ain't nobody else doing it. I've heard that at church. People say, well, I guess I'll have to do it if no one else does it. If you do it that way, you do it like you're doing the job. But if you're doing it to serve the Lord, if you're doing it to serve the Lord or in service of the Lord, it's ministry. If you quit because how many of you have ever been in a group or in a church or in a ministry where folks just quit? Why isn't that happening anymore? Because the person that was doing it just did what? They quit. If you quit because someone criticized you, listen, it's a job. Because how many of you know, especially in church, most of us who are in church do it because we love God and because we're not on a payroll. It's a volunteer army, right? Most of us are doing it because we love God. It's a volunteer army. If we do it because someone criticizes us, it's a job. But if we keep serving despite them talking about it, it's really called ministry. If you are doing it alone, as long as it doesn't interfere. Listen, if you're doing it as long as it does not interfere with my other activities, because I got a basketball game, I got to take the kids to soccer, I've got whatever it is that I've got this fishing trip planned. If you're doing it because it does not interfere with your other activities, how many of you know if you're doing true ministry, it interferes with a lot of your own personal activities? A whole lot of them. I wanted to go there, but for the sake of ministry, I went here. Why? Because it's what? It's ministry. Listen, if you're doing it only when you have time, then it's a job. But if you're committed to staying, even when it means letting go, somebody say, I have to let go. There are some things you have to just let go of. When you have to let go of some other stuff, it's called ministry. Yeah, don't feel bad about it. I'm talking to leaders, some who are good, some who are great, those who are looking to be greater, because in ministry, it costs a sacrifice. And it costs you to give up some of the things that you may ordinarily want to do. Let me go quickly. If you quit because no one thanks you or praises you, it's a job. But if you stick with it, even though no one recognizes your effort, it's called ministry. It's hard to get excited about a job. Believe me, I did it for 31.5 years. It's hard to get excited about a job. I had some good jobs. But that pales in comparison to ministry. It's almost impossible not to get excited about ministry. If your concern is success, it's a job. However, if your concern is faithfulness and service, it's called ministry. If God calls you to ministry, as we land the plane, if God calls you to ministry, don't treat it like a job. If God called you to ministry, don't treat it like a job. Is that all right? Well, hopefully today you've learned some things. I don't think I shared anything new. I started by telling you from the very beginning, I am no John C. Maxwell. You agree? I'm no John C. Maxwell, but hopefully you've heard some things, been reminded of some things that says, hey, if I'm going to lead a team, I must have a team that's being led. If I'm going to improve myself, I can think about it, or I can take the time to write it down, at least 2 areas in which I'm going to improve. Don't ever look at ministry as being a job, because true ministry is just that. It is ministry. Thank you so much to Pastor Spencer and to Lady Rhonda and to
Well, we do this every single Tuesday. Most of them are a little bit more low-key, but we'd love to invite you out every month, the first Tuesday, unless there's a big holiday or something. We have food available and normally a little bit bigger attendance. So thank you to Pastor Claude Oliver, and thank you for watching online. Thank you for being consistent. And Pastor Spencer will be back next week, but we want to encourage you guys, if you're here, to head over and grab some Olive Garden. If you're online, good luck with food. I hope you brought a good lunch.